Yo, what's up guys? This is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Welcome back to the channel. Many thanks to all of you who have supported me on Patreon. If you want access to exclusive and complete versions of the stories, join me on Patreon. I already have dozens of stories available there. You can even send fanfic requests. The link is in the description. Enjoy the video. Peace. One Piece Strongest Clone System. 1/72nd, ch. 1/153rd. 0.7%. Number 1 Chapter 1 Crossing the Pirate World. Chapter 1. Transmigrating into the world of One Piece. East Blue Kokoyasi Village. Looking at the tangerine trees swaying in the breeze before him, Yimeng wore a calm expression, his lips curling into a happy smile. That's right, he had transmigrated. He had arrived in the world of the Pirate King. However, Yimeng had long expected this. After all, he had believed since childhood that he was a person of destiny, and this transmigration was simply destiny fulfilling itself. Yimeng rubbed his head and thought about the current timeline. It was the year 1510 of the marine calendar, which meant it was 10 years before Luffy would set sail. System. Are you their system? Clinging to the law that all transmigrators must have a system, Yimeng called out to the system in his mind. To his surprise, however, after calling out 7 or 8 times, the system remained completely silent. Could it be that there is no system? Yimeng couldn't help but ponder. But if there was no system, then so be it. He had already transmigrated, so this life was already a gain. He had no desire to relive the dull and boring life of his previous existence. Yimeng, no slacking off. Hurry up and finish picking the tangerines. We still have to go back and prepare lunch for Nojiko and Nami. A woman with deep red hair and a cigarette dangling from her mouth shouted at Yimeng. Hearing someone call his name, Yimeng turned around in confusion to take a look. Why did this woman look so familiar? Suddenly a flood of memories slowly awakened in Yimeng's mind. It turned out his predecessor was an orphan of war. His parents were honest and dutiful villagers who both died when pirates massacred their village. He had been stuffed into a wooden barrel by his mother, which allowed him to escape the disaster. Fortunately, his predecessor had been sleeping at the time, otherwise a crying infant would not have been spared by the pirates, as leaving no loose ends was the pirates' consistent style. Belmere was now Yimeng's adoptive mother. Like Nami and Nojiko, they were all orphans. Yimeng was the eldest brother and was now 12 years old. Nami was only 8, while Nojiko was the same age as Yimeng, though her birthday was later than his. Yimeng, what are you spacing out for? Do you still want to eat lunch or not? Seeing Yimeng still spacing out, Belmere immediately flew into a rage. All right, immediately. Looking at the furious Belmere, Yimeng gave a sheepish smile. He had better be obedient for now, after all he was only 12 years old. This Belmere character used to be a marine, and her angry demeanor was exactly like a tigress. Yimeng couldn't afford to provoke her right now. As Yimeng picked the tangerines, he thought about the plot. Suddenly realizing something, Yimeng frowned tightly and silently cursed. This point in time was roughly when Arlong the fishman would invade the village, but he had nothing right now. What could he use to fight against Arlong? If he had no power, not only would Yimeng and his group be turned into slaves, but his adoptive mother Belmere would also die. After all, Belmere, having been a marine, would never become a slave to pirates, not even in death. Yimeng frowned. What if he couldn't beat him? Should he run? But what could he use to run? This was Belmere's hometown. She wouldn't leave. Should he tell Belmere, "Run quickly, Arlong the fishman is coming"? Would that be believable? Not to mention that Yimeng was 12 years old now. Even if he were 22, Belmere probably wouldn't believe him. Because the East Blue was the hometown of the hero Garp. Which pirate would dare to run wild here? This was hailed as the safest sea area and at the same time the weakest one. Although that was said, the East Blue was indeed full of talented people. Higuma the mountain bandit who stepped on the 4 emperors and punched the future pirate king, the famous Shichibukai Buggy the clown, and the world government's #1 enemy, Monkey D. Dragon. The naive Belmere probably wouldn't suspect that the marines here had long been bought off by Arlong the fishman. Just as Yimeng was deep in thought, ding, sensing the host's current dangerous situation, the system has been activated. System. Quickly introduce your functions. Yimeng was overjoyed. He knew the system might be late, but it would never be absent. After all, that was the system code. The full name of this system is Strongest Creation System. Every time the system level increases by 1, the host can create 1 character. The characters possess the trait of absolute loyalty to the host and will never betray the host. They have their own unique personality traits and the special ability to return to the system after death. Created characters can improve their own attributes through training, master various skills through self-study, or the host can purchase abilities for the characters in the system store to directly improve the character's strength. Whenever the system level increases, the host can receive 1 lottery chance and 1 opportunity to create a character. There is only one way to increase the system level. Whenever the host spends money in the system store, the host can gain experience points. The system is activated for the first time. A novice gift pack is gifted to the host. Would the host like to open it? Yimeng said impatiently. Open it quickly. Beep, congratulations to the host for obtaining one character creation opportunity and one god level lottery chance. God level lottery chances cannot be obtained through money. Please design the character's external appearance in a timely manner and then choose a suitable place to summon them. Yi Meng asked in confusion. Wait, system, you said let me design the character's external appearance myself. Yes, host. Good grief, Yi Meng was pleasantly surprised by this system. He thought the characters would be created by the system itself or summoned from the myriad worlds. He didn't expect the system to let him design the characters himself. This was going to be fun. Yi Meng was in high spirits due to the good news, and even his speed in picking tangerines increased significantly. This made Belmere not far away nod involuntarily. This brat finally wasn't slacking off. Mama, look at the C chart I drew. It took me 3 days to finish it. Young Nami was showing her drawing to Belmere, her expectant gaze falling upon Belmere. Belmere smiled and nodded. Wonderful, Nami, it's drawn even better than the Marines. Alright, go call Nojiko to eat. Watching Nami showing off to Belmere, Yi Meng waved his hand helplessly. This was a bit different from the Nami in his memory. The current Nami was just a little girl, a far cry from the future cat burglar. Seeing Yi Meng's helpless gesture, Nami huffed, then made a face at Yi Meng before going to find her sister Nojiko. Ch. 2 153rds. 1.3%. Number 2, Chapter 2, Esdeath. Chapter 2. Esdeath. Evening. Yi Meng sat cross-legged in the orange orchard, took a deep breath and said, System, initiate the god-level lottery. The moment Yi Meng finished speaking, a huge roulette wheel appeared in his mind, but it was filled with fog and Yi Meng couldn't see a single thing clearly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The giant wheel began to spin, making Yi Meng's heart pound. This wheel represented his starting point, so Yi Meng had to take it seriously. He hoped for a bit of good luck. Although the wheel was obscured by fog, the colors within could still be made out. It was colorful with basically every color imaginable. Purple was Yi Meng's lucky color, and he hoped it would land on purple. To his surprise, the wheel actually seemed to be turning toward the purple section. Just as the wheel was about to stop on purple, Yi Meng thought to himself that it was in the bag, but who knew where the wind came from as it caused the wheel to move again. Bang! The wheel stopped, but the result was unexpected for Yi Meng, as it hadn't landed on any color at all, not even white. Yi Meng smiled bitterly and said, No way, I can't be this unlucky, right? Not drawing anything at all. Beep. Congratulations to the host for drawing a god-level item, Fruit of the Great Tao. Fruit of the Great Tao. The Fruit of the Great Tao. Consuming it allows one to master the power of the Great Tao as well as gain the aptitude and physique of the Great Tao. Huh, good heavens, Fruit of the Great Tao. Doesn't this mean I'm directly invincible from the start? Beep. Host, although this fruit is the Fruit of the Great Tao, it only contains a single origin and lacks the power of the 3,000 Great Taos. Furthermore, the stronger the world the host resides in, the more powerful the effect it will exert. So that's how it is. But even with just one origin, it's enough for me to use. Yi Meng took out the colorless Fruit of the Great Tao rewarded by the system and swallowed it in one bite. The Fruit of the Great Tao was colorless and tasteless. The moment the Fruit of the Great Tao entered his stomach, Yi Meng felt refreshed all over, feeling that there was no moment in the world as comfortable as this one. However, after consuming it, Yi Meng didn't feel any changes in his body. System opened the system store. Yi Meng quickly scanned the abilities in the store and murmured, Are there only 3 abilities? Beep. The system store refreshes once a month. A level 1 system only refreshes 3 abilities each time. From then on, for every level the system increases, the number of abilities refreshed each month will increase by 1, the system replied. I see. Spider Sense. The signature ability of Spider-Man from the Marvel world. It can grant the character amazing insight and the ability to foresee danger in advance. Beginner discount price. 100,000 belly. Sword Genius. Grants the character excellent sword talent, allowing the character to gain exponential results when practicing swordsmanship. It is a natural sword prodigy. Beginner discount price. 100,000 belly. Demon God Manifestation Demon's Extract. A blood-type Taigu forged from the blood of a legendary super dangerous beast that lived in the far north. The mark on the chest is the sign formed after drinking the blood, allowing one to freely create and control ice. Beginner discount price. 1 million belly. Secret Technique 1. Mahapadma, freezes time and space. No one other than oneself can move, but it consumes a massive amount of energy, depleting 90% of the body's stamina. Secret Technique 2. General of Ice Storm. First uses ice to create a large number of ice cavalry, to store energy for several days, then releases it all at once to create a blizzard that covers the entire empire. Yi Meng raised an eyebrow. The moment he saw these abilities, Yi Meng determined the appearance of his first character, a woman who was cold and beautiful to the extreme. However, although the abilities in the system store were strong and the prices cheap, Yi Meng was only 12 years old and belonged to the type who didn't even have 10,000 belly. Sigh, a penny really can stump a hero. Just as Yi Meng was thinking about how to quickly earn 1,200,000 belly, the system's voice came. Beep. Because the host is opening the system store for the first time, the host is rewarded with 2,500,000 belly. Huh, it was truly a case of being handed a pillow just as one felt sleepy. It was effortless. However, this amount made Yi Meng feel like the system was looking down on him for being poor. System, how do I create a character? The host just needs to silently chant, create character, in their mind while using their will to create the character's appearance. So that's how it is. Then let's begin. It's you. Appear Esdeath. That's right. Since the system store had Esdeath's Taigu, Yi Meng naturally had to recreate the Ice Queen from his memories. The next moment a bright light suddenly flashed 3 meters in front of Yi Meng, and that Imperial General from Yi Meng's memory appeared right before him. Ice blue long hair plus sky blue eyelashes and eyebrows, she looked just like an elf princess. A super S-queen with a beautiful figure. Looking further down, there were those straight slender long legs. Yi Meng stared blankly at the woman in front of him, who seemed to be radiating cold air from her entire body. This was just too similar. Yi Meng. Esdeath called out to Yi Meng coldly, then nodded at him. Ah. Looking at Esdeath calling his name, he couldn't help but think of the anime from his past life. That was a very healing anime. System, are the created characters always this cold? Not necessarily. Characters possess unique personality traits, and the personality traits possessed by each character are different. So that's how it is. No wonder. Hearing the system's explanation, Yi Meng was quite satisfied. After all, characters with unique personalities were much better than robotic ones. System, check the character attributes. First character. Esdeath. Level 1. Each level up grants 1 attribute point. Experience 0 100s. Cultivation, combat and killing can all grant experience points. Strength D. Physique D. Technique D. Agility D. Will D. Perception D. Attribute points 0. Using attribute points can increase the level of one of the 6 attributes. Note: D is the average attribute of a marine recruit in the current world. As expected, products from the system are top quality. Even the lowest level attribute was the same as a marine's, even if it was just a recruit. Ch. 3 153rds. 2%. Number 3. Chapter 3. Esdeath, the robbery of the Navy. Chapter 3. Esdeath robs the marine. Yi Meng walked around Esdeath twice, nodding silently. This character's temperament was truly unparalleled. She was a living, breathing, aloof goddess. Although she looked powerful, in reality the current Esdeath was only at the level of an ordinary trainee marine. Thinking of this, Yi Meng bought all 3 abilities from the system shop and applied them directly to Esdeath. Upon receiving the abilities, Esdeath's whole body trembled. At this very moment she had completed the first sublimation of her life, and every part of her body was being strengthened. Looking at Esdeath, whose strength had changed drastically, Yi Meng felt a bit envious. He also wanted this feeling of being able to become stronger just by lying down, but the abilities from the system shop could only be added to characters and could not be applied directly to himself. Shaking his head, Yi Meng stopped thinking about it. After all, no matter how strong the characters were, they were his own people, not enemies. Check character level. Esdeath. Level 5. 1 attribute point gained per level up. Experience 0 1500 experience points can be gained through cultivation, combat and killing enemies. Strength C. Physique C. Technique C. Agility C. Willpower C. Perception C+. Attribute points 4. Abilities: Spider Sense, Intermediate, Swordsmanship, Genius, Beginner, Demon God Manifestation, Beginner. Good heavens, Demon God Manifestation was truly Esdeath's signature ability. Having just fused with this Taigu, it had brought such a massive improvement to Esdeath. System, what are the tiers for these attribute levels? Host attribute levels are divided into SSS and D, with each grade further divided into 3 sub-levels such as S plus S and S. Taking Kaido, who has the strongest vitality in this world, as an example, his physique is only S. This means that AD level attribute only needs to be upgraded 11 times to reach S level. However, adding points to a single attribute will greatly disrupt the balance of a character's strength. Therefore, to utilize an S level physique, at least A level strength and B level willpower are required as support. Hearing the system's explanation, Yi Meng nodded. It was indeed true. Even if the system hadn't said so, Yi Meng didn't intend to add points that way, because such stat allocation would be meaningless. Even if your physique was S level and others couldn't kill you, if your speed and strength were lacking, you wouldn't even be able to land a hit on someone who was standing still. Reminder to the host: attribute points are extremely precious. Please be cautious when allocating them and use them reasonably. Alright, I understand. Then how are the ability levels divided? Abilities are different from attributes. There are only 5 levels for abilities: beginner, intermediate, advanced, top tier and max level. There are no sub-levels in between. Yi Meng nodded, then immediately allocated 2 points to agility and 1 point each to technique and willpower. Since Esdeath now had a Taigu, she wasn't lacking in terms of offense. The Taigu Demon God Manifestation Demon's Extract was sufficient for now. Even as a beginner level ability, the power it unleashed was not to be underestimated. Esdeath's agility broke through to B, and her technique and willpower both reached the C+ level. Esdeath, how do you feel? Esdeath looked at her own body, then at the Taigu on her chest, and said softly, "It feels very good." Hehe. Just as Yi Meng was feeling smug, Esdeath's next sentence left him with black lines on his forehead. I think I can punch you into pieces with one blow. Esdeath looked at her fist seriously. Esdeath, that joke isn't funny at all. What a joke. At the very least Yi Meng had eaten the fruit of the great Tao even if it was just the source power. Let alone Esdeath's current strength, even at her full power it would be impossible for her to punch him into pieces. Esdeath, you have grown up now. You will have to walk your own path in the future. Esdeath nodded expressionlessly. How long does it take for you characters to resurrect after death? Yi Meng asked. For characters below level 10 it only takes 1 day to resurrect. The higher the level the longer it will take. Esdeath maintained her cold expression, seemingly unconcerned about her own life or death. In that case, since you cannot die, that point is your strongest cheat. Wait for me a moment. Then he turned and ran towards the house. Before long Yi Meng returned, but his hands were holding an ordinary military sword. This sword was the one Belmere used when she was a marine. Esdeath, now I bestow upon you this invincible divine sword. Yi Meng solemnly placed the sword into Esdeath's hands. Do not hide your strength. Wielding this divine artifact of a sword, go forth and become stronger to your heart's content. I am entrusting this 999 damage divine artifact to you. Quote. Looking at the chipped sword in her hand, Esdeath was speechless. She felt that her Taigu could easily destroy this sword. But why do I feel like this sword is so fragile? Yi Meng glared at Esdeath. What do you know? This is a divine sword. It's just that your strength is too small to unleash its potential. Once your armament haki awakens, you will know the power of this sword. Although Esdeath felt that this sword's contribution to her combat power was extremely limited and that what Yi Meng said was just empty talk, it was still a divine sword, so she would make do with it. Go Esdeath. Unleash your talent to the fullest and spread the name, Esdeath, throughout the world. Esdeath nodded, then set off towards the sea carrying the divine sword Yi Meng had spoken of. Right, the most important thing is to make money, everything else is optional. Yi Meng didn't know if Esdeath had heard that, but he felt that his character would definitely not disappoint him. After all, she was already this strong in the newbie village, it would make no sense if she couldn't develop further. The moonlight was beautiful, but Yi Meng had no intention of sleeping. His character was working so hard. As her master he had to work twice as hard. Otherwise, if his own strength ended up weaker than his character's, Yi Meng wouldn't be able to afford to lose face like that. Having eaten the fruit of the great Tao, Yi Meng was endlessly energetic and had no need for sleep. The boundless energy within him was encouraging him to train and strive. 1001-1002. Yi Meng wiped the sweat from his forehead and continued doing push-ups. Not far from the island where Kokoyasi village was located, something unexpected was happening. The Marine Branch Colonel Loman was kneeling on the ground with a cold sword at his neck. He looked at the incomparably cold woman in front of him in disbelief, asking in surprise, "You aren't going to kill me?" Esdeath frowned. Was this person sick in the head? Why did he want to die so badly? Hand over the money and the ship first. Hearing Esdeath say this, Loman was overjoyed. After all, who would want to die if they could live? Even if he was a righteous marine, he didn't want to die, and besides, this woman didn't seem like a bad person. The situation was like this. Esdeath wanted to go out to sea and saw that the Marine branch had ships, so she naturally wanted to get on one. However, the Marine soldiers naturally refused, so the two sides started fighting. Ch. 4 153rds. 2.6%. Number 4 Chapter 4 Esdeath joins the Navy. Chapter 4. Esdeath joins the Marine. The money is all here. There are only small ships, no large ones. Looking at the small warship in front of her, Esdeath nodded with satisfaction. With a ship she could finally set sail. Esdeath tossed a large bag of money onto the ship, boarded it, and then came back down a moment later. Loman had just breathed a sigh of relief, but now he was nervous again. There was no helping it, this woman was simply too terrifying. That kind of speed was not something that should exist in the East Blue. She had dodged every single bullet, and even his own sword skills, which he prided himself on, were no match for her. What's wrong? Esdeath said calmly. Do you have a navigator? I don't know how to sail a ship. We do have one. May I be so bold as to ask what you intend to do, miss? Make money. Loman was stunned. Just to make money she went against the Marine. That was too simple. However, he turned and thought about how this girl seemed inexperienced in the ways of the world. So he looked at Esdeath cautiously and said, Miss, would you like to join the Marine? Esdeath asked in confusion. The Marine? Yes, the Marine. Joining the Marine not only provides you with a dedicated navigator for your voyages, but also lots and lots of money. Esdeath analyzed it seriously. Joining the Marine seemed like a decent idea, so she agreed to Loman's recruitment. Fine. Hearing Esdeath's agreement, Loman was even more stunned. He had lived half his life and had never been this stunned before. His recruitment offer was just polite small talk intended to stall for time. He had already had the Marine notify the nearby Marine base earlier. After all, if someone stole a ship from their Marine branch, their branch would become a huge laughingstock. After his shock came endless surprise. Their branch would not only avoid disgrace but would actually become the strongest Marine branch in the surrounding area simply because of Esdeath's recruitment. Send out a notice to tell them not to come, the matter has been resolved. Although Esdeath had joined the marine, she would not be returning the money she had stolen. Once it entered her pocket, there was no reason to return it. Loman didn't mind. After all, to recruit such a strong woman for a mere few 100,000 belly, he would gladly take a few more deals like this. Although the surrounding marines had their money stolen, they dared not say anything due to Esdeath's formidable strength. In this world, the strong are respected, only the strong have the qualifications to enjoy everything. Beep. Esdeath has contributed 600,000 belly. Current total, 1.9 million belly. Yi Meng, who was still exercising, asked in surprise, is money that easy to make? She earned 600,000 in one night. Yi Meng didn't have much concept of belly, he only knew that one chopper cost 50 belly. Oh wait, it seemed the price had gone up to 100 belly. But even at 100 belly, 1.9 million belly could buy 19,000 choppers. Yi Meng glanced at the system panel. Regarding Esdeath's experience, Yi Meng could only say, as expected of an imperial general. Her moves are 666, stealing money from the marine and still managing to join them. As for Esdeath joining the marine, Yi Meng didn't have any particular opinion. Regardless of what one does, any profession that can make money is a good profession, and Yi Meng was currently quite short on cash. If Yi Meng couldn't leave right now, he would have set sail long ago. The small Kokoyashi village was indeed quite boring, the outside world was much more fun. However, Yi Meng couldn't leave yet because he hadn't dealt with the fishman Arlong, and Yi Meng didn't know when Arlong would arrive. The night passed without incident. As the sun had just risen in the morning, Loman was sitting in his office writing a telegram. The report was about that woman Esdeath, and he had just finished writing that her personality was extremely greedy. Bang! The office door was kicked open by Esdeath. Radiating cold air, Esdeath walked into the office without saying a word. Loman had just been a bit angry that someone had entered his office without knocking, but the moment he looked up, his annoyed expression instantly changed into a smile. What's the matter? Did you sleep well last night, Esdeath? I want to deal with pirates and wanted criminals. Where are they? Loman felt that the office, which had been warm just a moment ago, was now as cold as ice. What are you trying to do? Esdeath said coldly. You just need to tell me their location, you don't need to worry about anything else. Loman gave a wry smile and said, alright, I will have my adjutant prepare the intelligence for you immediately. Yi Meng, get up, otherwise Mama will be angry. Little Nami knocked on Yi Meng's door, but for a long while she heard no response from Yi Meng. Just as Nami was about to kick the door, Yi Meng hugged Nami from behind and chuckled, Nami, kicking your brother's door will get your butt spanked. Nami looked at Yi Meng in astonishment. Was this still her brother? How could he be so handsome? The previous Yi Meng was also a little handsome, but definitely not this handsome. That's right, after eating the fruit of the great Tao, not only had Yi Meng's appearance improved, but his entire aura had undergone a tremendous change. This handsomeness was indescribable. If one had to describe it, there was only one sentence that could do so: he was just as handsome as all you esteemed readers. Looking at the dazed Nami, Yi Meng chuckled, what? Do you think your brother is very handsome? I think so too. Nami blushed under Yi Meng's gaze. Hearing Yi Meng say that, she couldn't help but scoff, narcissist. Who said you were handsome? After saying that, Nami ran away blushing. Running into her own room, Nami touched her chest. Why was her heart beating so fast? Yi Meng, Nami, Nojiko, time to eat. Following Belmere's shout, the family happily sat down to eat. At the dining table, Belmere stared at her son with some surprise. Her son seemed different. She couldn't say what was different, but he was just different. Could it be that he had grown into his features? Seeing the three of them staring at him, Yi Meng put down his bowl and chopsticks and teased, what do I have flowers on my face? Why are you all looking at me like that? Belmere coughed, you're just a smooth talker. Hurry up and eat. Later you're all coming with me to pick tangerines. The big merchant from the East Blue Cheer is coming over. This is a big deal. Yi Meng let out a sigh. No matter how strong he was in front of Belmere, he was just a son. In front of Nami and Nojiko, he was just a good brother. Ch. 5/153. 3.3%. Number 5, Chapter 5, Esdeath's Rise to Fame. Chapter 5. Esdeath's Famous Battle. On the other side, in a town in the East Blue, a group of marine soldiers from the East Blue branch led by Colonel Loman were lying cautiously behind a patch of grass, not daring to move a muscle. Ahead of them was a group of pirates holding a banquet, making a loud ruckus. Are those pirates? Is every one of them worth a lot of money? It was in this tense atmosphere that Esdeath's voice rang out in the ears of the marines. Yes, they are worth a lot. The pirate leader alone has a bounty of 18 million belly. Loman felt something was off and gave a wry smile. My dear lady, please don't joke around now. That's a great pirate, we are no match for them. Oh, so that's how it is. Then let's go up and finish them off. Having said that, Esdeath wanted to step forward and slaughter all those pirates. To her, these were all walking belly. Seeing Esdeath's movement, Loman hurriedly pulled her back. My dear lady, are you trying to get yourself killed? That is, wild car, Hal, who has a bounty of 18 million. Over 100 Marines have died at his hands and his pirate underlings are extremely brutal. A head-on confrontation would be a dead end for us. Even though Esdeath was strong, Loman didn't think she was a match for Hal. Loman knew his own level was such that he couldn't last a single move against Hal, yet yesterday he had managed to last several moves against Esdeath. If Esdeath knew what Loman was thinking, she would definitely laugh at his naivety. She had to know that yesterday was her first battle and she wasn't very familiar with fighting. Moreover, she hadn't held any intention to kill, nor had she used her invincible Taigu. Originally his plan was just to chase down a pirate worth a few million. With his and Esdeath's combined efforts, taking them down shouldn't have been difficult. Who knew they would run into a great pirate worth 18 million? The adjutant next to him whispered, "We can only wait until they are drunk before we have a chance to sneak away." "Is that so?" Esdeath nodded in understanding. In her mind right now the words, "Great Pirate," didn't exist, there was only the number 18 million. Esdeath sensed the movement behind her and added, "However, they have already discovered us. It's too late to leave now." Quote, quote. The Marines were dumbfounded. "They're coming. They've already surrounded us," Esdeath said coldly. "It seems we have no choice but to fight." As Esdeath's voice trailed off, the pirates who had been holding a bonfire banquet grinned, picked up their weapons, and led by an exceptionally strong man slowly closed in to surround the Marines hiding behind the grass. Loman shouted angrily, "Scatter and run!" Before the Marines could even flee, something that filled them with despair occurred. Behind them on the left and even on the right, a large number of pirates had appeared out of nowhere. The pirates formed a perimeter firmly encircling the Marines. "Marines have been waiting for you for a long time." The man in the lead sneered, "From now on I will let you righteous Marines taste the flavor of pain." The battle erupted just like that. The pirates charged toward the Marines. Loman clearly knew that in this situation they had no chance of winning. The only way now was to run as far as possible, save as many as possible. With a single look from Loman, the group of Marines who had been with him for years understood what he meant. Loman jumped directly to the rear of the formation where there were the fewest pirates and it was the easiest to break through. Loman chopped off a pirate's head with his sword and shouted, "Charge!" Hal laughed loudly, "Escape? There is no escaping. Everyone is going to die today." Then reaching out a hand, a pirate underling hurriedly handed a 2-meter-long greatsword to Hal. Hal took the greatsword, charged, and rushed in front of a Marine. He swung his blade about to execute the soldier. This person seemed to be a rookie. Facing an 18 million bounty pirate, he was trembling in fear, unable even to run. Clang! To everyone's surprise, the blade did not cut off the rookie Marine's head. Instead it was blocked by a cold woman with a sword. Hal looked at Esdeath coldly and said, "Woman, you're not bad, but your biggest mistake is opposing me." "Oh, is that so?" Esdeath, standing before him, was unimpressed. She wasn't scared. It was merely 18 million. Why would she be afraid of walking money? Loman behind her saw the commotion and shouted, "Esdeath, run. You are no match for him." Loman was anxious. This was a Marine seed he had just discovered. He could die, but Esdeath could not. Every time such a star of hope died, it was a huge loss for the Marines. Hal heard Loman's voice and laughed loudly. "Esdeath is it. He's right. Your only chance was to run, but unfortunately you didn't cherish it. Too much chatter. Too lazy to listen to Hal." Esdeath slashed at him with her sword. At this moment Hal couldn't help but take it seriously because he discovered that the woman in front of him seemed to have good swordsmanship. Ping! Clang, clang, clang. The sound of clashing blades echoed throughout the entire battlefield. Esdeath's agile body and Hal's sturdy physique fought crazily together. Their movements were so fast it was dazzling. Ordinary Marines and pirates couldn't even see their figures clearly. Only Loman and some of the higher-level pirates could see, but what shocked them was that the woman was actually trading blows evenly with their boss. Not to mention Esdeath's innate genius in swordsmanship, her intermediate spider sense combined with her bee agility allowed her to fully predict danger and easily turn crises into safety. Right now she was just using Hal to practice her swordsmanship. After dozens of exchanges, Hal clearly realized he had become a training dummy. This made him both shocked and furious. He, a dignified great pirate with an 18 million bounty, was actually going back and forth with a female Marine. The enraged Hal exploded, gathering all his strength, and slashed at Esdeath. Esdeath also predicted the danger of this strike and immediately gathered all her strength to meet the blow. Boom! What Esdeath didn't expect was that the divine sword Yi Meng had given her shattered during this collision. This made her suspect it was a fake artifact. Hal also hadn't expected that this woman's strength was not inferior to his own. He couldn't take her down for a while. If this dragged on, Marine reinforcements would arrive soon. Just when Hal was thinking about retreating, he was overjoyed to find that Esdeath's sword had broken. Being the despicable person he was, he wouldn't let this opportunity pass. "Ha ha, die, Esdeath!" Loman in the distance shouted angrily. He wanted to go over, but it was too late. Just as the blade was about to strike Esdeath, she said coldly, "Why bother?" The next moment Hal, along with his sword, was frozen solid. Esdeath radiated cold air. The pirates and Marines in the middle of the battle couldn't help but look at her. When they saw Hal frozen by Esdeath, everyone's expression was as if they had seen a ghost. Run. Run away. This is the power of a devil fruit. She is a devil fruit user, she's a demon. Everyone run. Ch. 6 153rds. 3.9%. Number 6 Chapter 6 Future Naval Heroes. Chapter 6. The Future Marine Hero. However, this time it wasn't the Marines running but the pirates. Just as the pirates were trying to flee, the entire area was frozen over by Esdeath and all the pirates were turned into cold blocks of ice. Devil Fruit. Loman really hadn't expected that Esdeath would actually possess a Devil Fruit ability and a Logia-type fruit at that, which was incredibly powerful. However, Esdeath's Taigu couldn't materialize like a Logia-type fruit, at most it could only be considered a Paramesha-type Devil Fruit. Loman, who was in the distance, slowly walked over. Looking at Esdeath, he didn't know what to say, so he swallowed hard and asked, Esdeath, was the ability you just used a Logia-type Devil Fruit? Logia-type Devil Fruit? What does that mean? Loman looked at the confused Esdeath and couldn't help but rub his forehead. What kind of ditzy woman was this? She didn't even know what a devil fruit was. A devil fruit is a type of fruit that grants you certain superpowers after you eat it. Devil fruits are divided into 3 major categories: Paramesha type, Zone, and Logia type. A Logia type fruit is the ability you just used. It allows your body to gain the power of nature, thereby allowing for elementalization. Esdeath nodded and then asked, and what is elementalization? Loman explained, elementalization can render attacks ineffective. It can only be countered by armament hockey. Esdeath thought to herself, it seems armament hockey is indeed a powerful ability. Yimeng had also said that only armament hockey could master the true power of divine artifacts. However, looking at the divine artifact that had shattered into pieces on the ground, Esdeath decided she didn't want it anymore. It didn't seem to suit her. I cannot ignore attacks. In that case it must be a Paramesha type devil fruit. Esdeath pointed at the big guy nearby and asked, is this person worth 18 million? Loman looked at Hal, who had been frozen into ice. Yes, if you send this person to a nearby prison you can collect 18 million belly. Loman looked at Hal with pity. This guy was really pathetic. He was about to die and hadn't even been remembered by name by Esdeath, who only remembered his 18 million. However, it seemed he, as the commanding officer, was also quite pathetic. It seemed Esdeath didn't even know his name either. Thinking of this, Loman felt a bit depressed. Kokoyasi Village. Yimeng, who was still picking oranges, heard the system's voice and was somewhat surprised. It had only been a few days and Esdeath had actually turned in 20 million belly all at once. Curious about what had happened with Esdeath, Yimeng turned his gaze to the system. Looking at Esdeath's performance, Yimeng was very satisfied. She really lived up to being his character. She was just that strong. After reading, Yimeng couldn't help but feel a bit depressed. His character was already starting to stand out while he was still picking oranges in some unknown corner. It was too infuriating. However, this feeling of being the boss behind the scenes doesn't seem too bad. Just as Yimeng was spacing out, Nami, who was constantly watching him from afar, shouted, Mama, big brother is slacking off again. Yimeng. On the other side, at this very moment, Esdeath was the hero of the entire Marine branch. She alone had saved a division and saved a squad. Everyone was shocked by Esdeath's performance in the battle against Hal. A rookie Marine going out on a mission for the first time had defeated a major pirate with a bounty of 18 million. Can you believe it? Especially the Marines whose lives had been saved by Esdeath. They practically treated her as their second parents. Their eyes were filled with worship and fanaticism when looking at her. Esdeath, we misjudged you before. Loman bowed solemnly to Esdeath. Without Esdeath, Loman would not be alive today. A life-saving grace should be repaid with boundless gratitude. You are a powerful and excellent Marine, a natural-born Marine hero. We will definitely submit a request for commendation to Marineford so that you can stand on the real stage. Not to mention anything else, just the fact that a rookie went out on their first mission, defeated a major pirate and saved the entire squad at the same time is an incredible miracle. Marineford. Inside the Fleet Admiral's office, Sengoku sat in his office chair, swiftly processing documents one by one. There were many things in this sea that needed his attention every day. Just when Sengoku saw a document from the East Blue, he couldn't help but let out a soft exclamation. You have to understand, the documents that were able to reach him were basically all from the New World and the Grand Line. There were very few documents from the Four Blues, let alone the weakest of them, the East Blue. Sengoku curiously picked up the document and read it little by little. When he saw that a rookie Marine had easily defeated Hal, he couldn't help but chuckle. Aokiji, the East Blue has produced a Marine with the same ability as you. The man sitting on the sofa was tall, wearing a white suit vest and a dark blue shirt. He wore a marine coat over his shoulders. He had a green sleep mask over his eyes and was sleeping at that very moment. Hearing Sengoku say this, Aokiji pushed his sleep mask up to his forehead and looked at Sengoku, saying, Oh, is it also a Logia-type fruit? You have to know that Logia-type fruits are quite rare and powerful. Look at how all 3 Marine Admirals possess Logia-type devil fruits. Sengoku shook his head and said, According to Loman, it is not a Logia-type devil fruit but a Paramesha-type devil fruit with freezing abilities. Hearing Sengoku say this, Aokiji lost interest. There were too many Paramesha-type devil fruits, especially in the New World. Basically more than half were Paramesha-type devil fruits, so there was nothing worth paying attention to. Sengoku looked at Aokiji's expression and knew what he was thinking. You Brad, don't underestimate her. You have to realize that when she was just a rookie in the East Blue she defeated a pirate with a bounty of 18 million on her first time out at sea, and she is also a woman. Oh, what is her name? Hearing Sengoku say this, Aokiji became a bit interested. East Blue rookie defeating a strong enemy woman. There was too much to associate with this, especially since it was the same freezing ability as his. Sengoku nodded. Her name is Esdeath. Loman said she is a natural-born marine hero and her stage shouldn't be in the East Blue. A future marine hero, huh? Well, the East Blue is finally getting a bit interesting. So Fleet Admiral, do you want me to mentor her? Sengoku laughed heartily. I can't hide anything from you, kid. Your abilities are nearly identical, so it would be most appropriate for you to mentor her. Sengoku picked up the tea on the table, took a sip and said, besides, I heard that this Esdeath is also a great beauty. You're old enough, it's time for you to settle down and start a family. Aokiji raised an eyebrow and rubbed his head. All right, I'll go. You should get some rest, old man. He didn't want to settle down and start a family just yet. Regarding the justice the Marines upheld and the path he would take in the future, he was still lost. Ch. 7 153rds. 4.6%. Number 7, Chapter 7. Aokiji arrives. Chapter 7. The arrival of Aokiji. No one knew that Esdeath's true identity was merely a character created by Yi Meng. Just like that, while Yi Meng was still picking oranges in Kokoyashi village, Esdeath had already embarked on an unreasonable path of cheating. Regarded by the outside world as possessing a powerful devil fruit and having easily defeated Hell, Esdeath was already the top powerhouse in the weakest sea, the East Blue. Now every day Esdeath was either hunting pirates or on the road to hunting them. She had eyes only for money. Suddenly every wanted criminal in the entire East Blue who appeared on a bounty poster became a hunting target for Esdeath. From small fry pirates with bounties just over 1 million to big-time pirates with bounties approaching 10 million belly, whose reputations were not even weaker than Hal's. If they were targeted by Esdeath, there was only one outcome. That was that no matter where they fled, they would be caught up to by Esdeath and turned into ice sculptures. Under Esdeath's crazy hunting spree, the security environment of the entire East Blue was instantly cleared up. Every wanted criminal felt insecure, and some pirates even couldn't stand the pressure and fled to the more dangerous Grand Line. However, for these pirates, Esdeath was far more dangerous than the Grand Line. At the very least, fleeing to the Grand Line still offered a glimmer of hope, but if they encountered Esdeath, there was only a dead end. The wanted criminals of the East Blue gave Esdeath a nickname, the Ice Queen. And Esdeath's rank rose rapidly as she continuously hunted down wanted criminals. Rising as quickly as her rank was Esdeath's level. If she could kill a pirate with a bounty of 10 million, the experience gained would be about 100 experience points, while 1 million would be about 10 experience points. As for pirates with even higher bounties, it was highly unlikely to see them in the East Blue. After all, the East Blue was the weakest sea, and a 10 million belly bounty was already quite high for the East Blue. Esdeath had yet to encounter an opponent who could match her. After all, the ability of the Demon's Extract was simply too strong. This was an ultimate ability that, when cultivated to the extreme, could even freeze time and space. In a sense, it was even more powerful than Admiral Aokiji's Ice Fruit. Even at the initial level of the Demon's Extract, it was enough for Esdeath to instantly kill any opponent of the same level. Bang! Another guy was beheaded by Esdeath's sword collapsing into Esdeath's ice field. 8 million. Esdeath murmured to herself. Clap, clap, clap. Applause came from afar. Esdeath curiously looked back and saw a man riding a bicycle on the sea. Miraculously, he didn't fall in. Instead, the path in front of him turned into ice. Squeak. The lazy-looking Aokiji jumped off his bicycle and pushed the eye mask on his eyes up to his forehead. Very good swordsmanship. Esdeath frowned as she looked at Aokiji. Her perception told her that this man was very strong, so strong that her win rate against Aokiji was 0. Hey, I'm not some wanted criminal. Let me introduce myself. I am Marineford Admiral, Aokiji. Admiral. Esdeath looked at Aokiji cautiously. She hadn't expected the man in front of her to actually be the highest combat power of Marineford, an admiral. Relax, don't be so nervous. I'm not a bad guy. Aokiji rubbed his nose and then glanced at the pirate dead on the ground. He thought to himself that he really couldn't let this person stay in the East Blue, otherwise all the pirates in the entire East Blue would be wiped out by her. There were pirates everywhere. Even in the safest East Blue there were many. These pirates could never be killed off completely. Unless the Great Pirate Era was ended, it would never stop. Regarding the pirates of the East Blue, the Marines generally turned a blind eye. As long as they weren't pirates with bounties of tens or hundreds of millions, they wouldn't bother with them. Because this world was inherently one of survival of the fittest, blind comfort would only harm the residents of the East Blue. It was necessary to keep them vigilant at all times. What do you want with me? Hey, the East Blue doesn't suit you. If you don't leave, the pirates here will be wiped out by you. Come with me to the Grand Line. I will personally mentor you. The Grand Line. Yes, there are many strong people there. Everyone with talent is there. The world over there is very exciting. Esdeath thought about it. It sounded good. Then thinking of something she asked, "Are the people there worth a lot of money?" Aokiji clearly hadn't expected Esdeath to ask that, but he still explained, "Yes, the pirates over there are very valuable, especially one old guy who is worth 5 billion belly." 5 billion. Hearing 5 billion, Esdeath's eyes lit up. She decided that she absolutely had to go to the Grand Line today. "Fine, I'll go with you." On the other side, in an uninhabited mountain forest, 3 weeks passed in a flash. Yi Meng trained arduously every day simply because the energy provided by the fruit of the Great Tao was too strong. Yi Meng had to train every day to expend this energy, otherwise he would explode and die from having too much energy. System check. Character level, Esdeath. Level 8. 1 attribute point is gained for each level up. Experience 403,000. Training, fighting and killing enemies can all earn experience points. Strength C. Constitution C. Technique C+. Agility B. Willpower C+. Perception C+. Attribute points 3. Abilities: Spider Sense Intermediate, Sword Genius Intermediate, Demon God Manifestation Initial. Reached level 8 in 3 weeks, and swordsmanship has even reached the intermediate level. Esdeath certainly didn't disappoint me. Yi Meng added the 3 attribute points to agility, willpower and technique respectively. He didn't add any to strength or constitution, mainly because these 2 things could be increased slowly on their own. Esdeath's constitution was previously C, but now she had trained it to C on her own. Therefore precious attribute points should be added where Esdeath needed them, such as speed. Under the effect of the attribute points, Esdeath's agility directly reached the B level, possessing speed that surpassed pirates with bounties over 100 million. But the bad news was that as Esdeath's level continued to rise, the experience now required by Esdeath was also very high. However, Yi Meng was not worried about this. Esdeath had now headed to the Grand Line, where there were many experience fodder. Today was the start of a new month, and the abilities in the system shop had also refreshed. Although the system had already upgraded to level 2 when Yi Meng purchased the Demon's Extract, allowing him to create a second character. It was just that the system shop was empty at the time, so Yi Meng naturally didn't create a second character. He still wanted to see what abilities the system shop would refresh with before deciding what kind of character to create. However, this wait lasted for a full 3 weeks. According to the system's rules, every time the system level increased by 1, it not only added a new character slot but also allowed the system shop to have 1 more ability each time it refreshed. This meant that now that the system was level 2, it refreshed 4 abilities every month. When the system level reached level 3, the system shop would refresh 5 abilities. Ch. 8 153rds. 5.2%. Number 8. Chapter 8. Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha. Chapter 8. Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. Agile physique cannot be upgraded. Increases agility after every battle. Newcomer special price, 1 million belly. Scarred cannot be upgraded. Increases constitution after every injury. Newcomer special price, 1 million belly. Kekkei Genkai. Wood release. Senju Hashirama's unique Kekkei Genkai grants the character the ability to use wood release, consuming stamina instead of chakra. Newcomer special price, 10 million belly. Sharingan. A unique Kekkei Genkai of the Uchiha clan in the Naruto world. It can evolve through training into the 2-Tomo Sharingan, 3-Tomo Sharingan, Mangekyo Sharingan, Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Rinnegan, and the 9-Tomo Rinne Sharingan, consuming mental energy instead of chakra. Newcomer special price, 10 million belly. Good grief, to think these 2 abilities actually appeared. When Yi Meng saw Wood Release and Sharingan, the images of Hashirama and Sasuke involuntarily appeared in his mind. However, this Sharingan and Wood Release are really expensive. Even with the newcomer discount, they still cost 20 million belly. If it weren't for Esdeath being so capable and earning Yi Meng nearly 50 million belly, Yi Meng really wouldn't be able to afford these 2 things. There is nothing much to say. Upon seeing the words, Wood Release, Yi Meng decided on the appearance of his second character. That is the name that absolutely appears in people's minds whenever the title, God of Shinobi, is mentioned. Come forth, Senju Hashirama. Standing in the empty mountain forest. Following Yi Meng's shout, a man appeared with long black hair, wearing a black tight-fitting combat suit layered with red armor plates on the outside and the Senju clan emblem on the left shoulder armor. He wore red iron bracers on his wrists, and in his youth Hashirama wore a white cloth headband with the Senju clan emblem. Good heavens, this is even more Senju Hashirama than Senju Hashirama himself. 1 hour later, at the entrance of Kokoyashi village. Who are they? Why haven't I seen them before? I don't know, they look so fierce. Could they be criminals? Amidst the whispers and discussions, 2 men wearing samurai armor expressionless left the vicinity of Kokoyashi village together. That's right, there were 2. Just as Yi Meng purchased Wood Release, the system upgraded to level 3, adding 1 more character creation slot. Originally Yi Meng had intended to create an enhanced version of Senju Hashirama, but the sudden system upgrade caught him off guard. Since there was an extra slot, Yi Meng had them both appear together. That's right, the other person wearing samurai armor was Uchiha Madara. Second character, Senju Hashirama. Level 1 attribute point gained per level up. Experience. 0-100 experience points can be gained through cultivation battle and killing enemies. Strength. D. Constitution. D. Technique. D. Agility. D. Willpower. D. Perception. D. Attribute points. 0. Abilities. Kekkei Genkei. Would release beginner scarred cannot be upgraded. Third character. Uchiha Madara. Level. 1 attribute point gained per level up. Experience. 0-100 experience points can be gained through cultivation battle and killing enemies. Strength. D. Constitution. D. Technique. D. Agility. D. Willpower. D. Perception. D. Attribute points. 0. Abilities. Sharingan beginner agile physique cannot be upgraded. A system upgrade rewards 1 lottery chance. The system upgraded last time but Yimeng didn't use it. Now that the system is at level 3 there are 2 lottery chances. System start the lottery. Yimeng felt today was a good day and thought he should be able to draw something good. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Beep. Congratulations to the host for drawing a bag of senzu beans 10 beans. Senzu bean. A magical food from Dragon Ball. Eating 1 senzu bean keeps you full for 10 days. It possesses regenerative power. As long as the person is not dead it can restore stamina and energy in the shortest possible time almost instantly during extreme fatigue returning the body to its optimal state. Senzu beans not bad. System continue drawing. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. This draw was exceptionally slow. Just when Yimeng thought the system had malfunctioned the system spoke. Beep. Congratulations to the host for an explosion of luck, you have drawn Changchi, one of the 4 perils. 2 meters away from Yimeng a cute little kitten appeared. Cheep cheep. The moment Changchi saw Yimeng it was very excited. With a whoosh, it flew onto Yimeng's face and rubbed its little tail against Yimeng's cheek. This such a cute thing is actually Changchi. Isn't Changchi a beast of disaster? Yimeng looked at the cute Changchi and immediately said, from now on you will be called Xiao Dai. Xiao Dai looked at Yimeng in confusion, touched its little head with its paw and was somewhat puzzled as to why it was called Xiao Dai when it was so cute. Just as Yimeng was returning home he happened to run into Nami. The moment Nami saw Xiao Dai her eyes lit up immediately. She couldn't put it down and wanted to claim Xiao Dai for herself. Xiao Dai looked at Yimeng for help. Yimeng coughed and then slipped away. Compared to Xiao Dai he still doted on his sister more. Yimeng walked out of the house and just then a seagull wearing a police badge landed beside him. Yimeng gave it 100 belly. The seagull dropped a newspaper for Yimeng and then flew away. Yimeng looked at the newspaper in his hand and couldn't help but click his tongue. This newspaper was quite expensive, 100 belly equivalent to 2 choppers. Yimeng held the newspaper and looked at the large characters in the headline. He felt very pleased and even wanted to laugh. Ice Queen. Esdeath, the woman who has conquered the East Blue for a century. This Chunabu headline and the exaggerated style made Yimeng blush. This was too much boasting. The content using an extremely exaggerated style described in detail the various opponents Esdeath had defeated over the past month. One after another, great pirates, that Yimeng had never heard of in the plot but whose names were very resounding in reality had now turned into a pile of cold text becoming embellishments for Esdeath's formidable power and achievements. In this era where pirates are everywhere the East Blue really needs a heroic figure. No, it should be said that it's not just the East Blue. Even the entire Marine and the entire world government are actually yearning to mold a hero like Garp to curb the increasingly collapsing Great Pirate era and the endless stream of wanted criminals, to give the public confidence in the Marine and to consolidate the prestige of the world government. The end of the newspaper stated that Esdeath's destination was the Grand Line. The East Blue was merely a stepping stone for Esdeath. Yimeng knew that Esdeath had gone to the Grand Line but he didn't know that she was currently with Aokiji. Because Esdeath hadn't fought Aokiji, the system panel didn't have information on Aokiji. At this rate I'm afraid Esdeath will soon be heavily relied upon by the Marine. Marine Admiral Esdeath. Just thinking about these words gave Yimeng a fun feeling. This kind of wicked sense of humor really made Yimeng addicted. This feeling was much more satisfying than going to become some high-ranking Marine official himself. Ch. 9 153rds. 5.9%. Number 9 Chapter 9 The Two Brothers in Prison. Chapter 9. The Two Brothers Imprisoned. Before Yimeng could enjoy Esdeath's success for even a few days, bad news regarding those 2 unlucky fellows Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama arrived one after another. As an enlightened creator, Yimeng had no specific demands of them. The only requirement was that they develop slowly while ensuring their own safety. Just like with Esdeath, Yimeng only asked her to make money and did not restrict what kind of existence Esdeath would become. The same went for Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama. The characters' personalities were unique and randomized, so even if Yimeng wanted to control what kind of personality his clones had, he couldn't. Over time Yimeng stopped bothering. The only instruction they received from Yimeng was less than 10 words: leave this place and grow stronger. The two of them faithfully executed Yimeng's instructions, and compared to Esdeath they were clearly smarter. Previously Esdeath had hijacked a marine ship which caused trouble. But the Uchiha brothers hijacked a merchant ship. In this regard they had shown progress such as knowing to pick the low-hanging fruit. However, unexpectedly within just a few days the two of them ran into trouble. The ship the two brothers were on unfortunately encountered a storm. Although the two brothers struggled desperately in the waves because the two of them had just been born and their strength was truly too poor, their struggles were futile and they were still swept into the storm. Fortunately, the storm the two brothers encountered was just an ordinary one, not a thunderstorm or anything like that, otherwise they would have had to return to the system space just after leaving. The two of them discovered that the storm wasn't dangerous, they were just being blown around. Realizing that struggling was useless, they held hands and let the storm carry them wherever it pleased. Then they were swept by the storm to a country called Anska. After recovering a bit of their stamina, the two began challenging those so-called experts everywhere. They injured a doctor who kindly came to ask about their physical condition and then injured the kingdom's guards. Finally it caught the king's attention. The king was extremely furious at these two outsiders, committing violence throughout his country, so he sent an army to try and capture them. And then, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara are already level 5. Yi Meng, who hadn't paid attention to the two brothers for just 2 days, was slightly surprised. He opened the system log and only saw messages similar to, Uchiha Madara challenged so-and-so, successfully defeated so-and-so, gained plus XX experience points, and didn't see any other anomalies. He remotely asked Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, and the information he received was that everything was normal. Although Yi Meng was a bit curious, he didn't dwell on it too much and instead allocated attribute points to the two. Senju Hashirama's would release consumed a lot of stamina, so Yi Meng added 2 levels to his constitution and strength, bringing both to C-. However, since Senju Hashirama had the battle-scarred ability, he added another level to his constitution, bringing it to the C level. Uchiha Madara's Sharingan put a great burden on his spirit, so Yi Meng added all the attribute points to his will, which represented mental power, bringing it directly to the C+ level, the maximum limit his current physical attributes could withstand. Uchiha Madara possessed the agility ability, so his agility also increased from D to C, which was a startling increase in speed. It was the attribute points Yi Meng allocated to them at that time that greatly increased their strength, and Uchiha Madara even awakened his Tutomo Sharingan. 2 days later, which was when Yi Meng was checking the logs now, it was like this. Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama joined forces to break through the gates of the Anska Kingdom, defeated King Anska VII of the Anska Kingdom, and successfully seized the priceless royal treasure, the Radiant Blue Crown. Although this national treasure was worth hundreds of millions of belly, at the very least they had to sell it, but before they could even sell it, Ding Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama are engaging in battle with the Marine. Ding Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama have defeated the Marines. Ding Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama are engaging in battle with a Marine Vice Admiral. Ding Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama have been defeated. Ding Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama have been captured. And then the two of them were thrown into prison. Because Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama had seized a national treasure, a serious crime, they were sent to impel down. System, didn't you say the characters created are very smart? Why do these two look so lacking in intelligence? Host, everyone's personality is randomized. Characters who have just been born are still learning, so there will be some imperfections. But it doesn't matter. As their experience increases, the character's performance will become more and more perfect. Perhaps the two of them entering Impel Down has a deeper meaning. I hope so. Although Yi Meng was a bit worried about them, he knew that characters could be resurrected if they died, so it didn't really matter. Then Yi Meng ignored them and went off to train, as the energy in his body was simply too abundant. Impel Down. Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama is it. The new Warden Magellan looked at the two in front of him. Although they were tightly bound and their hands were cuffed with sea-stone handcuffs, they showed no signs of fear. In particular, the one called Senju Hashirama was even looking at him with a silly grin. Magellan frowned. I heard that you two defeated an entire country's soldiers but didn't kill a single person. Why is that? We were just sparring, Uchiha Madara said indifferently. Right, sparring, just a friendly spar. They aren't bad people, so we wouldn't take their lives, Senju Hashirama hurriedly chimed in from the side. Magellan was stunned by the unexpected answer. Don't think such a reason can exempt you from punishment. Regardless, you seizing the national treasure was wrong. You committed a serious crime and will serve 20 years in prison. Never expecting to get such a surprising answer, he slapped the table in anger and embarrassment, and then suddenly felt a wave of discomfort in his stomach. He immediately squeezed his legs together and hurriedly said, Hannibal, these two are handed over to you. By the way, tell the Marines outside not to send such inexplicable prisoners who aren't even bounty criminals. We only imprison the most vicious criminals here. We don't have time to waste on these small fries. Yes, Warden. Hannibal, who was named by Magellan, immediately gave a not-so-standard military salute upon hearing this. Just as he was about to ask how to deal with the two criminals Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, he turned his head and was stunned to find that Magellan was already gone. Ch. 10-153. 6.5%. Number 10. Chapter 10. First steps into Impel Down with attribute levels. Chapter 10. First entry into Impel Down Appendix, Attribute Levels. Kokoyasi Village. Inside a waterfall, Yimeng sat cross-legged on a rock letting the waterfall pound against his body. The feeling was truly exhilarating. Having consumed the fruit of the great Tao, Yimeng possessed exceptionally high comprehension. He was self-taught, mastering armament Haki and observation Haki on his own, and Conqueror's Haki was even simpler for him. Currently Yimeng was training his armament Haki. The rushing waterfall allowed him to clearly perceive every single cell in his body. System Show Personal Panel. Host. Yimeng. Strength. S. Constitution. A+. Technique. B. Agility. A+. Willpower. A+. Perception. A. Abilities. Armament Haki Intermediate, Observation Haki Intermediate, Conqueror's Haki Advanced. Indeed, these were incredibly luxurious six-dimensional stats. The powerful effects of the fruit of the great Tao combined with Yimeng's day and night efforts made his progress inevitable. By the way, here are the attribute levels. D. Marine Recruit. D+ Marine Grunt. C. Bounty of several million. C. Bounty in the tens of millions. C+ under 100 million. B. Over 100 million. B. 300 to 400 million. B+ under 500 million, similar to a Marineford Vice Admiral. A- around 500 million average Shichibukai. A Sweet Commander All-Stars. A+ First Mate. S. Admiral 4 Emperors. S. Admiral 4 Emperors reachable by a specific attribute. S+ Roger Whitebeard Garp reachable by a specific attribute. SS Certain Mysterious Beings 3 Ancient Weapons. SSS the critical point of the Pirate King world, the highest level it can withstand. These are just the 6 physical attributes. Actual combat power varies. After all, there are many buggy devil fruits, and Yimeng's clones possess many strange abilities. For example, if the Sharingan evolves into the 9-Tomo Rinne Sharingan, the power unleashed is no worse than SSS. However, to use the 9-Tomo Rinne Sharingan one needs at least SS willpower. So that is roughly how it is, they complement each other. Not bad at all. My current strength is probably at the level of a first mate. It's just that my technique is a bit lacking, but that doesn't really matter. When strength reaches a certain realm, techniques become irrelevant. Yimeng murmured. Although he didn't have a devil fruit or any strange abilities, his physical strength alone was enough. Even if your abilities are flashy and complicated, he could break through them with sheer power. Breaking 10,000 techniques with one force, this was the path Yimeng would take in the future. On the other side, Impel Down. Crimson Hell. You two should reflect on yourselves here. I hope you don't die. Hannibal looked at Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama with sympathy. He didn't think these two newcomers could survive here, even though this was the weakest prison, the Crimson Hell. But don't forget, this prison is called Impel Down. Watching Hannibal walk away, Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama looked at each other and both grinned foolishly. Their plan had succeeded. That's right, entering Impel Down was their plan. They had figured out the condition for becoming stronger. Endless battles or killing enemies. However, having endless battles was obviously impossible. Because their strength was too weak, the Marine would never let them run wild. Even if they went off to become pirates and kept a low profile, the time required for development would be too long, which was obviously detrimental to their growth. Therefore, seizing the national treasure was just to get into Impel Down. After all, Impel Down is the most secure prison holding the most vicious criminals. If you don't have some achievements, you can't get in. So seizing the national treasure was the fastest method they could think of. Hashirama, you're right. This is indeed a great place to level up. Uchiha Madara looked around with satisfaction. Just on the first level there were plenty of people with strength equal to his, not to mention the 5 levels below. Senju Hashirama laughed heartily. I also saw it in a newspaper in the kingdom of Anska. Impel Down is the place with the most strong enemies in this world. Moreover, the Marine will continuously send in more bounty criminals, avoiding the need to fight the same opponent repeatedly. If we can fight to our heart's content in a place like this, our strength will grow at a flying speed. Hey newcomers. Wearing a prison uniform, a vicious prisoner with a face full of fat grinned as he walked toward Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama, who had also been changed into prison uniforms and were expressionless. A pair of fists as big as sand pots clicked as he clenched them. Do you know who I am? They call me Giant Bear, the 18 million belly bounty criminal Nachikuma. From now on I'm the boss. You two better kowtow to me first. As Nachikuma approached, all the prisoners in the cell also revealed malicious smiles, following closely as they walked toward the two. Hey Hashirama, Uchiha Madara said calmly. It seems our choice to come here was correct. Yeah Madara. Senju Hashirama showed an innocent smile and made hand signs for a technique. Then let's have a big fight. Although the two had sea stone handcuffs on their hands, don't forget that Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama were not devil fruit users. Furthermore, Hashirama's wood release could create wooden keys to unlock the handcuffs. Ding. Uchiha Madara defeated Impel Down level 1 prisoner Nachikuma. Ding. Senju Hashirama defeated Impel Down level 1 prisoner Yamazaki Takashi. Ding. Uchiha Madara defeated Impel Down level 1. Ding. Yimeng, who was eating dinner, suddenly noticed some strange information appearing on the system panel. Before Yi Meng could look closely, a flash of light passed by and the levels of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama had both reached level 6. Impel Down really is a great place to level up. In just a short while they leveled